Trump angrily attacked Perdue as lazy for losing his primary, report says, a criticism more often used of Trump himself. Former President Donald Trump was furious that his endorsed candidate David Perdue lost the Republican gubernatorial primary in Georgia, and lashed out at him as lazy. The Washington Post. Trump's endorsement strategy has suffered setbacks in a series of primaries, most acutely in Georgia last week, where two of his endorsed candidates slumped to defeat in their primaries. Perdue was thrashed by incumbent Brian Kemp, getting 21% of the vote compared to Kemp's 73%. In the Secretary of State race, incumbent Brad Raffensperger defeated the Trump-backed challenger, Jody Issei. Advisors to Trump told the Post that the former president now sees the candidates he endorsed in the races as embarrassments, adding that he considered Perdue lazy. Trump staked a large amount of political capital on the races in Georgia, where he wanted revenge on Kemp and Raffensperger for their refusal to endorse his bogus claim that he lost the state to Joe Biden in 2020 because of fraud. The former president campaigned for Perdue, who based his campaign around promoting Trump's election fraud big lie. Trump gave $2.64 million to Perdue campaign from his own political war chest. Perdue is a former U.S. Senator, and lost his seat in a closely fought runoff early in 2021, where some Republicans' critics blame Trump's fixation with pushing election fraud claims for driving down GOP. Trump himself faced accusations of laziness while in office. White House documents suggested he blocked out large sections of the day to watch coverage of himself on cable TV and would not bother reading briefings. Trump also spent plenty of time off the clock playing golf, far exceeding the number of rounds he had repeatedly criticized Barack Obama for playing while president. Trump over the weekend continued his attempts to reshape the GOP, holding a rally in Wyoming as part of his campaign to unseat Rep. Liz Cheney, a high-profile Republican critic who is sitting on the Jan 6 Commission. Why Trump's patchy election endorsement record could help him in 2024. An increasing number of Republican 2024 hopefuls seem to be smelling blood in the water that could be their undoing. Former President Donald Trump's increasingly patchy GOP endorsement record in this year's primaries has reportedly made him nervous about a potential third presidential campaign, and emboldened potential 2024 hopefuls who see his but in reality, the more crowded the field gets, the better his chances at winning the party nomination may be. Bent on revenge against Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, who refused to be pressured into tilting the scales for Trump in 2020, the former president aggressively campaigned on behalf of Kemp's challenger, David Perdue. Trump reportedly spent more than $2.5 million to boost Perdue and punish Kemp. But it didn't work. Kemp won the primary, by an enormous margin. Trump's favored GOP candidates for Georgia's Attorney General and Secretary of State didn't work out either. The bruising Georgia losses came after several weeks of misses across the country, with some of his endorsed candidates losing in Nebraska, North Carolina, Idaho and elsewhere. Ironically, the fact that 2024 is looking more competitive than expected may be to Trump's advantage. Now Trump appears to be feeling rattled. According to a new Washington Post report, he is now quizzing advisors and visitors about his potential 2024 rivals, and seems increasingly eager to use the announcement of a White House bid to ward off future. Among his questions, according to several advisors, who like others spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe private conversations, who will actually run against him? What do the polls show? Who are his potential foes meeting with? The Post report. It's not baseless paranoia. According to the Post report, some Republicans have decided Trump's grip on the party isn't as tight as it used to be, and that there are increasingly visible opportunities to dethrone him in the run-up to the 2024. Potential contenders include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Maryland Gov. Larry Hogan and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Yet ironically, The fact that 2024 is looking more competitive than expected may be to Trump's advantage. Trump remains the most popular politician in the party by a big margin, and the majority of Republicans still approve of the direction in which he wants to take the party. He also remains a fundraising juggernaut. Assuming he runs in 2024, Trump will likely enter the race as the presumed nominee. That means other candidates need to find ways to distinguish themselves from the former president. What do they offer in ideology, experience, or personal style that Trump doesn't? The greater the number of candidates, the harder it is to stand out. Moreover, more competition will incentivize more aggressive infighting. In 2016's crowded presidential Republican primary, Trump's competitors fought against one another mercilessly, and helped to clear a lane for a huge chunk of the primary season. They were afraid to criticize him directly because they noticed that he had a unique ability to tap into the party base's deepest and most reactionary instinct. The 2020 Democratic primary also showed how a crowded field can split the vote, which ultimately helped frontrunner Joe Biden. If Trump's apparent vulnerabilities encourage more of his rivals to throw their hats into the ring, the exact same dynamic could play out. And again, it seems likely that many candidates will be reluctant to adopt a highly adversarial position toward the primary frontrunner, who recently single-handedly changed the direction and political culture of the GOP. It's difficult to envision what qualities of his they could take aim at that wouldn't in a way be taking aim at the party ethos he himself has reshaped. All this is to say, Trump's mediocre primary showing may be giving the notoriously arrogant billionaire reality check. But it's not a death knell for his potential 2024 candidacy. Trump doesn't need to command total support, only a majority of it. If enough Republicans believe they smell blood in the water and the primary becomes crowded, Trump may ultimately have a stronger hand than if it's just him against one or two serious rivals.